The resurrection story completely falls under scrutiny when historically examined.
No, it doesn't. But let's see what he's got.
Gospels blatantly contradict each other on who went to the tomb, what they saw, and what was said.
Now, he tries to brush past these, but we won't let him get away with that. So the first apparent contradiction is how many women went to the tomb. Some gospel accounts list more, some list less. This is not a contradiction. This is simply equivalent to me saying, I went to the movies, and then telling another person, I went to the movies with my wife, and then telling another person, I went to the movies with my wife and some friends. Those are not contradictory statements unless I said, I only went to the movies, and then told someone I went to the movies with my wife and then with my friends. Now, ChatGPT tries to make it look like that John 21 says that, but it doesn't. John 21 has Mary Magdalene going to the tomb early, but it doesn't explicitly state that she was alone. Because espousing this as a contradiction is just not being charitable with the gospel accounts. Next, we look at the question of if the stone was rolled away or not when the ladies got there. Simply put, Matthew includes how it happened and the others didn't. Now, whether the women witnessed it or not is up for debate and has zero relevancy of whether or not Jesus actually rose from the grave. Whether they got there before the tomb was rolled away or after the tomb was rolled away is irrelevant to whether or not the tomb was rolled away. The fact still remains. The next one is on whether or not the women told the disciples or not. Because in Mark 16:8 it says that they were afraid and didn't tell anyone, but if you just read the verse above it, the angel told them to go tell the disciples. So if you just read the text with some charity, we can assume that they obviously were afraid, didn't want to tell anyone, but eventually went and told the disciples. And the last one is on how many angels were there at the resurrection. Once again, super easy to deal with. There were 2 angels, and some only mention one. At one point, they were inside the tomb, and at one point, they were outside the tomb.
These aren't minor differences. These are completely incompatible accounts.
No, these are clearly minor differences. In fact, they are differences we should expect if the story is true. If they all said the exact same thing, we would be highly skeptical of if it actually happened. And none of them contradict what the story is about, that Jesus rose from the grave.
The earliest gospel, Mark, originally ends with no resurrection appearances, which suggests that later versions added stories to fit its evolving theology.
That's absolute nonsense. Here we have in 1 Corinthians 15, which was written before all of the Gospels, of Jesus appearing to many people, including the disciples.
And there's the fact that there is zero contemporary evidence for the Gospels at all. No Roman records, no eyewitness documentation, just anonymous Greek letters written decades after.
That's not a fact. That's something that's espoused by modern scholarship. There's mounds of evidence that the Gospels were written by eyewitnesses. One of the most important ones is that the early church fathers attest that they're written by who they say they were. And I just find it completely arrogant for someone 2,000 years later to think that they know better than people that were much closer to the source. These are simply terrible arguments, and my suggestion to this guy would be to branch outside of ChatGPT and Bart Ehrman.